All right. Let's record another one, I guess. Where is he? Michael? Where are you, brother?
I'm on my way. Just
Oh,
hang on a
okay.
moment. I had to grab something from downstairs, you know.
All right, all right.
Ah, what? What happened?
I think the
What?
whole face is a little bit changed, brother.
What's
What
wrong with
happened
my
there?
face?
Well, probably the 78% of your face is missing
What?
right now.
I'm quite insulted, you know.
Are you kidding me right now? Let's be honest, bro. Where is this bush, First of all, are you Michael?
I am.
For real?
I am Michael. Yes.
All right. Can you blink twice? All right.
Was that
all
twice?
Right. Then yeah.
Yeah.
What happened then? What happened? Why did you save,
I know my side hustle needed me to be clean shaven, you know.
Oh, I see, brother. I see. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's gonna be really weird now for you guys after the first episode.
Yeah.
You seem like that. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
don't know.
It might come as a shocker, you know, but I had to do it.
Definitely.
I had to do it. There wasn't any wiggle room. I couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. I think we have quite an episode to go through, right?
We do. Hopefully it will be quite shorter, you know.
Yeah, I
we
think
didn't run our mouths for quite a while in the last one.
Yeah, the last one was quite big actually because we needed to introduce ourselves. Yeah, I think we already let them know that we will not gonna keep it too much, keep it too long. Let's say
from now on it's just straight to the news. Just straight to the news.
All right, let's make the intro.
Should we drop the intro now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Gamelitical. Fuck up the name again.
Bro, I don't know what's going on.
Gamelitical correct podcast. I just want to say podcast right away. I don't know why. I keep doing this mistake over and over again.
All right. Yeah.
Okay, welcome to our second episode. We are just going to go straight to the news this time. What have we seen in the last week?
Apart from the obvious, the Sony drama about the DRM's changes and rules, whatever,
That was quite a story. Quite a story.
There was the big reveal of the blood of Dawnwalker.
Yeah.
And that was definitely one of the things that I want to talk about first.
Of course.
And I think there was another article, I think it was from Reuters, and they were talking about the AI in video games and how many studios using AI nowadays and how it will improve the gameplay.
Yeah. I mean,
let's see.
I think it's important to talk about that article because Reuters, makes quite the argument that this is going to be implemented across the industry for video games, in a quite large manner in the future in gaming. So I thought we needed to talk about this, even though it's not mainstream news and nobody's really talking about it. But I think it's very important to talk about that as well. But I think we should start off with the blood of the Dawnwalker.
Yeah, let's start with something happy. Start with something happy first.
Yes. Yeah. We need to talk about this. I think on the 24th of last month, we had the reveal trailer and the story trailer, actually, for the Blood of Dawnwalker. What are your thoughts on the game, really?
I think we had another, the first video that they upload. I mean, it was the 58, I think, minutes. And the first one, it was 13 minutes of new gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What can I say? I'm really excited about it. And I can't wait to play it on I think it was the 3rd of September, 2026.
Yep.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's quite packed this month because if I'm not mistaken, the new Fable comes out. I mean,
Hmm.
it's not confirmed yet because I think there is some rumors that they were saying that Fable might skip 2026 because they don't want to actually um, go on the same year with GTA 6. They're kind of afraid. Why they're afraid, we don't know.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, let's discuss about what we saw, right?
Yeah.
Um, what's your thoughts? Let's begin with your thoughts. Yeah.
Well, I think it looks very interesting. Oh, let's get the obvious thing out of the way first.
Yeah.
It looks very, very similar to The Witcher 3.
Yep.
Um, Gameplay mechanics, the whole feel of the game looks very, very similar. I think
Yep.
it's actually a good thing. Me personally, I think it's a good thing because Rebel Wolves, the studio that's working on the game, most of the dev team used to be in CD Projekt Red back in 2014 when they released The Witcher 3.
Exactly. Yeah,
So,
you're right.
in my eyes, I think, excuse me, I think the team keeps doing what it does well. That's
Yeah.
that's really my take on it.
Th-
It does look very similar and it feels very similar. You get the vibes, and even the game in as a whole, reminisces of The Witcher 3. Have the music, um, the woods.
Yeah. The
In
whole
the
vibe of the
the
game
reveal
is
trailer, we saw
yeah.
a lot of woods. The guards were similar. The combat style was very similar, but I think that's actually a good thing because
Yeah.
the the team shows that it stuck to what they did well in The Witcher 3. I think that's a good thing. I
Yeah.
think.
What they know the best, basically. Yeah.
Yes.
I totally agree on that. Yeah. It was the vibe was screaming Witcher 3. Let's say.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm really excited about it, dude. Just the story looks really, really interesting. There's so many like memorable characters already,
Hmm.
and they seem that they're doing a very good job. Especially what you said about like they just doing what they know, what they do best. Yeah, definitely. I mean, they've been working in Witcher 3's they yeah so many years, so obviously they will use this as a reference to become
Hmm.
to make the game that they know. Obviously a lot of improvements. I don't know if the combat is the same with Witcher 3. I didn't have this vibe. It feels like an upgrade version of Witcher 3, the
I
combat,
mean,
but
yeah, of course.
yeah, I
I'm
have
not
a
saying
little
it's
bit
the
of,
same. It
yeah,
just
yeah,
it
yeah,
has the vibe.
I know. I have a little bit mixed feelings until I will have it hands on, you know but yeah.
My impression was that the combat and a lot of the movement,
The
animations
animations,
were
yeah.
kind of stiff. But in the trailer, we saw, with caps on, that it is a beta in-game footage. So I'm hoping that it's going to be better when the game actually comes out.
I think the thing that they really nailed is the world. The world building is insane.
Yes.
Top level. Top level. Especially for a debut studio. Obviously they have the experience of the AAA, they know. But, as a debut studio to nail that world that in such a good quality, it's crazy.
Hmm.
The music is really good. I think one of the composers is Mikhail Storinsky, the guy that he co-create the soundtrack of Witcher 3. And the story so much is one of the things that really surprised me because from this story trailer they show so much depth of the characters and how you can cooperate with these characters or you can betray them and become a mean guy and
Yeah.
you could. I think one of the in the trailer you could see that you could kill one of the characters, you know what I mean.
Hmm.
You could take one of these like decisions to kill them and you will have the consequences. The time mechanic that they have, I don't know how it will work, but they said that it will not gonna be a real time like timer. It will be if you do certain side quest or main quest, this time will advance because I think you have 30 days. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, I think so. Yeah,
Yeah, 30 days until you will save your family.
yeah. I think it's quite interesting. They seem that they take this RPG mechanics and the whole game takes the RPG very seriously because it seems that whatever decisions you make is going to actually impact the story and how certain events unfolds in the game. I I want I want this game to be, very good. I want this game because we haven't had a lot of games with, like kind of like a vampire as a main character.
Yeah,
In my recent memory, the only good games that had like a main character that was a vampire was V Rising,
which was a
which is
sandbox MMO survival game.
yes,
Yeah,
yes. Code Vein from 2019, if anyone remembers, and from my memory, the last good game that had a vampire main character was like Castlevania.
yeah. I mean, there was one game early 2000s they called Vampire Masquerade Bloodlines. The first
Yes,
game was amazing game, but recently the second game got released, but it wasn't that good. Like the Bloodlines community, I think they literally like slammed on it on
you
reviews
know,
because it
you know
didn't
what I
have the
mean.
same like RPG mechanics. Yeah, I know what you mean anyway, yeah. But I just wanted to remind you that there was another like recent title, but obviously you didn't know you didn't remember that because it
Yeah,
wasn't popular.
uh, and it was in the first one was in 2000. So
Yeah, you want
I was
2000s, yeah.
quite the child in 2000.
Yeah, true.
Do you want to talk about the spec sheet at all?
Yeah, we could. We could
I
actually, yeah.
I saw the spec sheet and I was thoroughly disappointed. I think with the current pricing anyway, anything above like 1080p is out of the question. Even
Yeah.
excuse me, even like the recommended spec for 1440p is like a card that costs way above $1,000 at the moment. So
Yeah.
and don't even get me started on the RAM. Okay, the RAM prices we all know are off the charts, so we're not gonna even talk about it. But
Yeah.
if you
That's too
didn't
much, yeah.
already have a PC ready or PlayStation, you are really in a bad position right now. Very
Yes, I
much
think
so.
that you need a very beefy PC to in order to play it on ultra 100%,
Mm.
like 4080 I see here in front of me. That's a little bit too much. I don't know, dude. Yeah, we hopefully they will work a little bit on the optimization until
Hmm.
September, and they will push like something different. Plus, the DLSS gonna help with it. But
That was what
yeah,
I was about to say. I hope when the game comes out, it's well optimized, and you can run it on lower tier components.
yeah, yeah. Mixed feelings.
Mixed
We'll
feelings,
see.
yeah. We'll
We'll
see.
see. Hopefully, we're not gonna have we're not gonna be a backfest like Cyberpunk. Yeah, that's
Mm.
what I'm hoping for. If it's not gonna be well optimized, we will give it like 1 or 2, maybe 3 months, and it will be in better, it will be in better like state in order to play the game. But yeah, if it will be unplayable, then oof, that's not a very good start for a new studio.
Yeah, of course. Anyway, do you have any other comments to make about Dawnwalker?
I can't wait to play it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Hopefully, it's as good as it looks at the moment.
Yeah,
Uh,
me. We love actually both of us. We love Witcher 3, so it's one of those games have
I
like the vibe. So obviously we want to actually
so,
play this game.
so somebody loves it, a bit more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know.
um, Anyway, let's move on to the next topic that we have. It was quite the drama from last week with Sony and the particular decision that Sony took to implement to their games. The main story before Sony talked about it publicly was there was a new check, a DRM check on every game that you bought digitally. The community thought that they put a like kind of a clock, a 30-day timer in timer which you had to connect to online servers on any game, doesn't matter, single player, multiplayer, doesn't matter. You had to connect to Sony servers to validate your license. Otherwise, if you didn't, in 30 days, the game would stop working. And the community was very upset, rightfully so. Myself, even I was a little bit upset after I heard this news. Sony wasn't, was nowhere to be found. There wasn't any update from Sony directly. But thankfully, like 2 days ago, we missed recording. Thankfully, we missed recording. We would have missed the news again. Sony came out and stated that this is a one-time check.
Basically the validation, verification kind of thing.
So when you buy a game digitally, you get like a temporary license for 30 days in which you need to check in on the internet once, and then you get the permanent license. So basically nothing changed. You just have to make one check in the first 30 days. What are your thoughts?
Apart from the obvious, do we really own the digital games anymore? Apart from the obvious, I want to discuss about something that I was I keep thinking about it, like in the last years, probably couple of years, and especially with the whole AAA companies and space and whatever. Sony once again proved how these people, they're so disconnected with us. These companies, these big companies, they're so disconnected to their community.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of communication, none. Like, I cannot even understand how. Okay, apply this rule to your service, and you are not even make a next post. Do you know what, guys? After a week, we will apply that. Just to let you know, everything is clear. How you let 3 people, 4 people, whatever, find the whole thing, make it viral, destroy your trust, literally destroy your trust, their trust to you, basically, and after like few days, after a couple of days that the whole thing announced, you come out and say, just relax. It's just one-time thing. You don't need to actually bring. It's not the end of the world. Well, even if you make this statement and say, you know what, it's nothing. It's not a doomsday. Where is your communication, bro? Like, it's one of those things that I cannot understand it, really. I don't know how you're so disconnected with your consumers. Like, how you sitting down to a conference room, and you are saying, you know what, it doesn't matter what they thinking. We don't care about their feedback. How you don't care about their feedback? How you don't even count on them? You know what I mean? We are the consumers. We buy the products, bro. Why all the AAA companies that are like that? I don't get it.
I don't either. It's kind of, it's baffling, because you would think that, we should go out first and say what this is about before, we make any significant changes to the platform. But they just released after I think was the March update. or April update. I'm not sure, but they released the update, and every game you bought after that time period
Yeah.
was with this change that
New rule.
they
Yeah.
with the new thing that they added. And there wasn't any communication even after the news popped up and the drama and everything. If anybody was on Twitter, they would know, and I'm pretty sure they have people that are on Twitter and they know. But even it had to 3-4 days had to pass, so that Sony could respond. I don't know what kind of decisions, who makes these decisions. It doesn't really make sense.
Of course, it doesn't make sense. Like how you don't want to actually be, you know, a trustworthy company,
Yeah.
like a company that basically your consumers they will be like, okay, I'm gonna buy their console, I'm gonna buy their game, and but what is more baffling to me is that we are not waking up, Michael.
Mm,
We are not waking up. In few weeks, all of these things doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like it never existed. The same thing happened with Helldiver drama back in 2023, I think.
mhm.
We never changed, bro. We never changed. We're like, okay, yeah, they needed to do it. So Ghost of Yote is out. Okay, let's go buy it.
Yeah.
PS5
Yeah.
Pro. PS5 Pro was a huge, like, controversial. Do you remember back then? There was a lot of controversy around like the pricing and how they were doing the whole like practice. And then people they were like, okay, I'm gonna sell my PS5 and I'm gonna buy PS5 Pro. Like,
Yeah. No problem. Yeah. That's
yeah,
fine. Yeah.
like we doubling down, dude. Just I don't know. It's the same thing like with microtransactions. At the beginning we were like the biggest critics against it, and then we normalize it.
Yeah. Some things like that happen all the time, and it's a pity, actually. That's why we need to support Stop Killing Games now more than ever.
Yeah,
Now that
definitely.
it's in the EU Parliament, and gamers are actually being heard in the European Parliament. Now this is a perfect example of how much these companies have control over your ownership.
Yeah.
Nothing, it's basically nothing you buy digitally is yours. Nothing. And this is what these kinds of movements are trying to change, because y- you think that you are buying a product. You think, but are you buying a product? That's the question. And the consensus is that you're not. You're not buying a product.
No, you're
You're
not.
just buying a license to use the product.
And then, and all this thing can be proved about what Ubisoft did with Crew, right? And that's
Yeah,
why the
of
whole
course.
it wasn't only that reason, obviously, but the whole movement. One of the main points was the Crew game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That me and you we pay that game, and then after like many years, maybe 5 or 6 years, they just take it off from the market. How you take off something that is mine? I pay for this. You know what I mean? Just because
Yeah.
it's a license, it's not like the product. You know what I mean? Okay, but even people that they bought I hope I'm not wrong about that. But even people that they buy a physical copy, they couldn't
Yeah.
play the game because it was through the servers. You know what I mean?
You're right,
Like,
because it was a single player game, but you had to connect to the servers.
yeah,
The servers went down, so you couldn't play the game. That's the
yeah,
game is still in my drive. I should be able to just open and play if I want to. I
yeah,
paid for the game. I should be able to play the game. Doesn't matter if servers are down. We don't care about that. We paid for the game. We want to play the game. Simple
yeah.
as that. Nothing more, nothing less.
I don't know. There is a lot of like, especially from people that they actually, the collectors and all these people that they actually buying physical copies. They try to warn us so many years. to don't get digital games,
Hmm.
and we need to actually support the physicals and stuff. Yeah, there is convenience of digital games. You have one library, you don't need to actually do a lot. You just double click into your game and that's it.
Hmm.
But even one of the most like trustworthy markets, they are not like very clear. Like if Steam, let's say, will shut down tomorrow or after like 5 years, what's gonna happen with your games? I think the only market right now that kinda is trustful to do that, I think it's GOG. Because GOG, I think
Probably.
they saying that you can play your games offline,
Hmm. And
even
there
if
are
the service
also no
dies. Yeah,
DRMs on GOG
yeah,
games.
yeah,
I think, that's GOG is the most like the closest to consumer friendly, I would say. The
yeah,
closest one. Yeah, it's not very popular. I'm not I'm not taking a dig at them. I'm just talking about the numbers. Steam is more, it's more popular than GOG. The Epic Game Store is more popular than GOG. So it's not a dig. I think they're doing a fantastic job. Every game you buy on the GOG market is DRM free and you can play it offline, no problem. But not all companies following that example.
yeah, definitely. We
Yeah,
forgot
but
to give us a huge shout out to Ross Scott, the guy behind the idea of Stop Killing Games.
hmm
Ross, keep doing your hard work, buddy,
you
because
have our
we
support
need
as
this
gamers. Yeah,
thing. We need this thing to come through, and we will be saved forever.
we need this thing to be law. We tell you, yes. But at the end of the day, I think Sony with the drama and stuff, I think it's a good thing. At least after all the drama, they came out and they cleared the fog.
Yeah,
Because that was the community was talking about. They were very afraid about what they buy on their store. They were very concerned about the future. What does this mean, or whatever, this and that. But Sony came out and made it clear. I think, at least on the other day, that's the one good thing we can take away from the story.
yeah, definitely. So even better late than never, right? That's what they're saying.
Yeah, yeah. It's better early than late, though.
That could be the best result,
Yeah,
but obviously didn't happen.
yeah.
But yeah, my concerns about like how the whole AAA space is so disconnected is, I think, is the bigger picture here. It's not about like, yeah, the obvious issues as we discussed, like digital games, yeah, but I think this is what they need to
Mhm.
improve on. They need to be a little bit more closer to us, listen our feedback. Do we like their games? What they need to improve? Easy, you know?
It's very very easy, but they don't do it for some reason. Couldn't you just
I
hire
don't know why.
one guy to be the communications guy, like one dude?
Def- come on, come on, come on, Michael.
Couldn't you
There's no
just
way that they don't
hire
have it.
one dude to be on Twitter all day?
There is no way that these companies they don't have communication manager. There is no
And
way,
where
man.
are they? Where are they? Where's the
These people they
communication?
getting, yeah, but these people they getting like orders from the people above. You know what I mean? If the people above they don't say anything, what's gonna happen?
Um,
They cannot just like take the decision on their own.
I mean, let's say you have a company and you hire a communications manager. Would you
Okay,
say to him, "Don't talk to anyone ever," because that's
I'll
what we get. That's what we get right now. That's what we
yeah,
get.
but I will make you another question,
Yeah,
right? Did the communication manager knew about the change?
not sure. I mean, there were like screenshots on Twitter that people send messages to Sony support center or
Support him, yeah.
whatever it's called. First, you have the AI automated response, right? And that wasn't updated. you wouldn't get a like a concrete response.
Yeah.
And it's only when they were connected to, actual employees of Sony, that they found out that this is a real thing. This is not a bug, this is not a mistake, this is, it's real.
Yeah.
It's a 30-day like day check or whatever. And after, it built up drama around the community, 3-4 days later, actually, Sony came out and made it clear.
Yeah.
I think
Justified drama, just to be clear.
justified drama, yes, but they completely missed the mark. They should have, at least when the drama was popping up, they should have come out and say the facts, like right away, not like 4 or 5 days later.
Definitely, yeah.
But the most right thing to do was to release a statement before the update, so people would know, and then you wouldn't have the drama.
The typical thing that you would assume by a big company, a multi-billionaire company, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly, as they should have treated this 100%.
Yeah.
I've said all I want. I think we should move on to the next topic. Would you like to start us off?
AI in gaming, ladies and gentlemen. That was the article from Reuters. I think it was Morgan Stanley story who wrote this, and says that AI could unlock around 22 billion in annual profits for the global gaming industry by cutting development costs. The big claim is that advanced AI tools could reduce game development costs by nearly 50% over time. The idea is not just AI makes games, it is more about AI reducing production costs across the development pipeline. Faster environment, world creation, AI assisted dialogue generation, faster software testing QA, quicker asset iteration, more efficient live service content updates. What do you think?
Hear me out, okay? Hear me out. As long as AI is moderated by actual people and we don't turn out, to have games full of AI slop, like absolute garbage.
Yeah.
I don't think this is a very bad thing. Okay. Now you have, with this argument, you have like the quickest response, I'm pretty sure it's like, but millions and millions of devs around the industry are going to lose their job. And let's be honest, millions of people around every industry are going to lose their job because of AI. Okay? There's nothing I or George or anybody can do about that. Gaming studios and publishers are corporations and they want to cut costs. If they have a way to cut costs in half, they are just gonna do it. You cannot do anything about it. Yes, people are going to lose their jobs. We cannot do anything about it. I cannot do anything about it. So I think it's, of course, it's very, very sad that people are going to lose their jobs, but that's just the new day of AI, hitting the gaming industry. That's my opinion on it.
It could be used, to be honest with you, to boost creativity, because there is a lot of like chores during development period that it could be, like writing a whole code, let's say. Now you have Claude to write some of the code code that you can, you can write, and then you go back and then, it did the 90% of the job, and then you're doing some troubleshooting and fixing stuff. So you could make some nice improvements on the game development, and obviously this thing, it could help with the duration of development, because right now sometimes some durations are really ridiculous, let's say,
Yeah, yeah.
to spend like 7 and 8 years. Yeah, as a tool, I'm pretty sure that it will be very helpful and we'll see a lot of stuff, I mean, a lot of good stuff.
Hmm.
Because you give this room of creativity back, when you don't have all these chores to do,
Yeah.
you can make a lot of stuff, I mean, you have like the time, the free time to actually think what you want to create and become a little bit more creative. But the downside is when you actually want to save money, especially the 50%, they're talking about potential replacements, you know?
Yes.
That's where my concerns is. You know what I mean? Like I don't have problem if you want to for experimentation, using generative AI to check like new projects, new designs, whatever, obviously as, you know, as experimenting and not
Yeah.
actually replacing the art direction with a gen AI, because
Hmm.
that's not good. Yeah, AI cannot make games, dude.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like you need humans. You need a lot of humans in actually like to make a lovely video game. AI could be an amazing help, yeah, massive help, in my opinion, but it cannot create the game,
Yeah. Absolutely not.
the feeling, all that.
Yes. I sure hope that AI is used as a tool and it's not used to replace people. Like completely. But I don't know, with the rise of AI and we see like an update on AI every 6 months and it's like, 3 times better than the 6 months before that. I'm not sure. I'm very skeptical about it because I think many chores, as you say, many chores that people used to do now, AI is going to do. Yeah, but people used to do that and now we don't need them. So bye bye.
Yeah,
Uh, but I think at least I hope that AI is used to cut costs and production time. Actually, production time will be amazing. Imagine like if let's say Rockstar, not that I want a a AI generated GTA, but if they could cut like production times from like 8 years to 4, that would
I mean,
be amazing. But
Take Two's already been confirmed that is one of the studios that they've been using it so
uh,
far. The examples that we know is Tencent, Sony, Roblox, Take Two, EA, and Ubisoft.
and these guys actually have like the most amount of benefit because they have a bigger player base and they have more data, have more.
Strong IPs, big
Yes, they have the
platforms. Yeah,
more engagement and stuff, so they have all these data to feed to AI models. So these companies, the huge companies, are going to be actually benefited more than a small studio uh, from AI.
yeah. I don't know. Is it going to save the AAA AI? Is AI going to save AAA gaming, or just make publishers even more aggressive with cost cutting?
I'm not sure. I want, I want to think that AI is going to help these companies, produce faster and cheaper. As I said from the last
Yeah,
episode, if you watched it, I said that I don't want companies to spend millions, like hundreds of millions of dollars on games. Like they shouldn't do that because we saw in last year that there are real examples of games that can do wonders. That's what I said anyway
yeah,
in the last episode. They can do wonders with a fraction of the cost. So I don't want them to spend millions and millions of dollars on the games. Want them to cut a little bit of cost down, and
plus,
but I don't think I'm not sure if they're gonna use like AI correctly to
yeah,
do that, and I'm not
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
They talking about like these big studios, how they will get, they're the biggest winners.
Hmm.
But in my opinion, even the small studios, they can benefit a lot, because these people, they have the creativity. The last few years, as you mentioned it, and we mentioned it in the last video, the last few years, seeing these double A companies, they make tremendously good games. You know what I mean? So even Color Obscure had assistance by AI.
Hmm.
You know, and I think there was another, like, about the replacement that we were saying. I think there is another, like, example about Warhorse Studio replacing the translators with AI. So all the translators that they were working there now, they been fired, and they got the AI replace them.
I
One
mean,
of the examples.
are we really surprised? Yeah, as I said before in this episode, actually, AI is going to replace jobs. It's going to take away jobs from humans.
Yeah,
I mean, you can, I'm don't want to curse, but uh, you can be angry about it. You can be vocal about it, but
yeah,
it's not going to change. Sadly, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's a good thing. Sadly, that's the reality that we live in right now. AI is going to replace your job sometime in the future.
yeah.
Very sadly.
Especially if it's a white collar job, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah. White
sad.
collar jobs are
Yeah,
in danger at the moment.
it's sad, but yeah, in my opinion, even without AI, they need to they need to do something about this stuff, because AAA companies, they seem that they have way too much stuff, and that's why they're cutting a lot, in my opinion. Since COVID, that they couldn't hit the deadlines, they
Hmm.
overhire people.
Yeah,
And then since then we had, like, massive layoffs across the industry. So that's what I'm thinking that it is. I
it's
mean,
a
it just
it's a combination that they overhired in the first place, and now you also have AI, and you can cut a lot more people than you could before, because
yeah,
they overhired during COVID, so they could meet all these deadlines or whatever, because people were not allowed to work in offices and they couldn't go out in public spaces. They overhired, people to work from home or any other way they could, actually. They were very desperate at the time, but now that AI has popped up, you know they're like, okay, we should fire some people that we overhired but back during COVID, and replace their job with the AI. Again, it's very sad. Again, want to make this clear. I don't want
yeah,
people to think that I'm all for AI. I very much dislike AI, but it's the reality that we live in. I think we need to be real and true to ourselves,
yeah.
uh, to make the conversations that we have, and to move on as people, not just the two of us, everybody, right? We
Yeah,
need to be true to ourselves to face reality. The reality is that AI is probably going to replace your job in the future.
it definitely needs some regulation, as I said so many times. Like, you cannot, like, let all these big executives, big, like, CEOs replacing stuff like that. You need to actually put a veto or whatever. Just you need to actually make some regulations, because I don't know. Yeah, we're going for full replacement, 100%. But in video game industry, one thing that is more reality is that the majority of the community, the only thing that they care about is a good product, Michael.
Mhm.
Honestly, I know it's sad that because they don't care about, like, people losing jobs, but the most of the people, they just want to pick a game and have an escapism, have,
Mhm.
like, a nice time of entertainment. And they don't care who's making it, how many people they were working on the product, on the product. They don't care about that. The
Yep.
only thing that they care is, like, it's sad, yeah, again, but that's how is the reality. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah,
why
most of gamers, don't really talk about who made that game and how much was the budget of the game of production. Most people, let's be honest, most people don't care about that. They just
not
want to
even
play the
watching
game.
social medias and reviews and stuff. They just
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
find a
yeah.
nice game and they just like gonna buy it and play it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But that's what I'm saying. Is like it's sad, but these people, they're I guess that they're really like busy with their lives to spend so much time to learn about the backstories and
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah. It's definitely like that. But I think, in the next two, I would say 2 or 3 years, AI is going to be, as far as producing media, video games and music and
Yeah,
all of that stuff. It's going to be indistinguishable from uh, man-made works. I
yeah,
think if you play a game made by AI, like completely from AI, not like a AAA title, but like, let's say like an indie title, you won't be able to tell in the future that it will be made from AI, and that's very sad. Again.
obviously we wouldn't be able to tell, but call me romantic, call me fool, I'm gonna accept everything, you know what I mean?
Mm.
But I don't think AI can create games.
Okay.
Correction, good games.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't say they're going to be good. I just said that, it's going to be indistinguishable from a man-made game. That's my take.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully it will help in a lot of like boring parts of development, and hopefully if we'll stay like that we'll see more creativity comes, especially from the big studios that we mentioned earlier, because these people, they think that I feel that they lack a little bit of creativity, and that's why they cannot deliver very good products in the last like few years. So hopefully they will give, because they will get some money, they will save some money, they will save some development time. Hopefully they will have the free time to experiment and make and bring the creativity back. You know what I mean?
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Yeah. We sure do hope a lot around here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that's our time for today. I think we had
Yep.
it's shorter than last time, and I think that's actually a good thing. We don't want our audience to burn out from watching our videos if
Yeah.
they were like 1.5 hour or 2 hours.
And we don't want it to be a
So
drag either.
yeah, we
So
don't want it to be a drag. We just want it to be an enjoyable time, just a quick break in your day. I want to thank everyone for the warm welcome on the platform. It really beat our expectations. We
yeah.
didn't think that right away we would have such a warm welcome to the platform. So thank you very much.
Thank you guys. It really means the world to us. We
Yeah,
especially on TikTok. I don't know if you actually checked on TikTok, dude. That
I
we
I did
popping
I
off
did check quite a bit, popping off.
quite a bit. Especially one video is crazy, dude.
Yeah, yeah. We
I'm
don't
losing my mind.
and
Really.
don't imagine that it's like crazy numbers, but it's
Yeah.
crazy numbers if you think that the channel is up for like 4 days now.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That's the most
basically
impressive
nobody
thing.
knows who we are. So
Yeah.
we were we are quite happy and quite excited about this journey that we started together.
Yeah.
So anyway, this has have been the Gamelitical Correct podcast. Okay, I've nailed the name. Wow me.
Nice. Finally.
Okay. Please consider subscribing to the channel and leave us a like. We can't wait to hear about your opinions in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching this show.
Thank you for watching. Till the next time. Peace.